Barakta Yahweh, Barakta Yahushai, Barakta Yahweh, Barakta Yahushai, Barakta Yahweh, Barakta Yahushai, Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahushai Ba'ashem, Kwakadash, double honors and salutations to the elders and apostles of Grimstone, the well and the Akim, preaching the gospel of Hamashiach Yahushai in sincerity and truth and diligence of mind, throughout the four corners of the earth, you say Shalom. Yeah, this brother Menashe DC camp, another short lesson to edify the hope of elect. Alright, so always, prophecy is always, popping out the scriptures, man, because you know how it is when you understand the curses that's heavy upon our people. It's just tragedy after tragedy. So we just got a situation in D.C. We have a protest in the 4th Ward, or let me say the 4th District, over a so-called police chase that led to the the fatal death of Jake that was on an electric scooter. You know how Jake is always want to run when he's on a scooter, thinking that the policy of the Metropolitan Police Department is going to be adhered to. Or let me say the officers are going to follow their policy, but it didn't work out. He got chased by the cops. And then he ran, and then he ended up losing his life. So it's just something that our people need to be aware of, man. Because Jake is, Jake is just always thinking that he could outsmart the system he saw put in place. Yeah, I mean, when you go online and watch several videos, you see how cops in DC just, trying to catch Jake's on ATVs and all those scooters and dirt bikes and everything else. You see a whole, man, it's just, it's scary, man, it's scary. That's the reason why, you gotta have proper judgment in these last days, man, because any false move, in a situation like that on the, on the highways and byways can cause fatal injury or serious bodily harm. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and play the video, and I could just speed up.
Now, there have been 10 standoffs outside the police station. ABC 7's Carl Willis is there tonight. And Carl, we understand several officers were injured once again tonight. How severe are those injuries?
Well, the police did not make it sound like those injuries were very major at this point. We're still working to find out exactly what led to those injuries, how they were injured, and the severity. But I can tell you that police still have a number of perimeters working even at this hour. Just within the past 2 minutes, though, they broke down one perimeter here. Some of those officers are now en route to other areas of town right now. But there's a line of bikes that was here. There's another right at the end of this block. There are also 2 squad cars that are blocking off Georgia Avenue for about a half a mile. All of this after protest today after the death of 20-year-old Karan Hilton. He was killed after MPD officers say they tried to stop him for riding a scooter on the sidewalk without a helmet. Police followed him, and in the process, Hilton collided with a vehicle on Kennedy Street and died at a nearby hospital. Well, tonight.
Yeah, that's serious, man. The lifestyle that young Jakes are always involved in. That's why, as a reason, brothers that got younger sons and younger daughters, you gotta keep an eye on them. All right. So I'm going to get a quick precept from the book of Isaiah chapter 51 verse 20, and it reads, "Thy sons have fainted." All right, you know what? Yep, I'll just stick with Isaiah 51 verse 20. It says, "Thy sons have fainted, they lie at the head of all the streets. They lie at the head of all the streets. As a wild bull in a net, they are full of the fury of the Lord, the rebuke of thy power." And that's one thing that our people, just have to understand, man, that, just Jake's always going to be hanging out on the corner, hanging out in front of the bodega, hanging out in front of the Moabite takeout spot and all that. Because when you drive to that neighborhood, just Jake on the corner, because I used to live there in that area for quite some time. I used to drive around, that area. Even brothers in the DC camp know that area. So you just see Jake hanging outside the laundromat, hanging outside the liquor store. That's the type of culture that Jake has, well, how you say it, cultivated in this place called Babylon, and that's the reason why it just goes to prove that our people are the Israelites, man. Even the Northern Kingdom do the same thing too. They hang out, all right. But it just shows that the curses, man, it's not a joke, all right. I think that's where a lot of trouble starts, man. You will go online, you watch videos, you see shootings in all these takeout spots, shootings at the corner of the block, and all that stuff. Stabbings and robberies and all that. So it's just sad, that stuff like this happens. But at the end of the day, it's just a Mosai bringing judgment upon our people. And then you saw the portion of the video where the mom was crying. The mom was crying justice for Quran. Neighborhoods were shouting justice for Quran. Yeah, so it just proves that our people, man, are always going to be afflicted of the Lord, till they get their acts together.
We're still working to find out exactly what led to those injuries, how they were injured, and the severity. But I can tell you that he's followed him, and in the process, Hilton collided with the vehicle on Kennedy Street and died at a nearby hospital. Well, tonight, as you mentioned, protesters are calling for police to release video of that incident. Many of them seem to believe that there's more to the story. Protesters tonight launched fireworks at police. And as you mentioned, there were multiple reports of officers being injured. We're still trying to find out if it was, in fact, the fireworks that injured those officers. As for that video that the protesters are demanding, police say they will release it. Reporting live in Northwest Washington, Carl Willis, ABC 7 News.
We'll continue to monitor that scene, Carl. Thank you. And again, D.C. Police says it will share its video of what happened. ABC 7 will have that on air and online at WJLA.com when it becomes available. So
another precept from the book of Lamentations, chapter 2, verse 5. It says, the Lord was as an enemy. The Lord was as an enemy. He had swallowed up Israel. He had swallowed up all her palaces. He had destroyed his strongholds and had increased in the daughter of Judah mourning and lamentation. All right, and that's exactly what's common with our people, especially the Southern Kingdom, right? Mourning and lamentation, day in, day out, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. All right. It's just the Lord Abba Shemashai bringing judgment upon the Southern Kingdom. That's the bitter cup that the Lord has put into the hands of our people, of our nation.
Ace and crash that ended a 20-year-old father's life. Right now at 6 o'clock, 7's on your side pushing for answers.
Now, that's after D.C. police did release this video, which could be difficult for some people to watch because it shows the final 2 minutes of that chase winding down streets and through an alleyway. New at 6 o'clock, we have team coverage. Our I-team...
That's the issue with Jake, Jake always think, he can always outmaneuver Esau. Esau's system, with all the gadget that Esau has put in that's how he has equipped these police officers with, the vehicles, the street cameras, the so-called tracking of cell phones and all that stuff. It's just hilarious, man. You got license plate readers, you got the fingerprint machines, you got the facial recognition. And Jake still think he could run away. Even the cops know him from the neighborhood, So it just proves that Jake, is not taking heed to, the words of the Lord. And when brothers used to be around that location, because brothers used to be at Petworth, and Petworth is not that far from Kennedy Street, and you see how they give brothers a hard time, man. Yelling and yelling and yelling. Want to fight with brothers for preaching the gospel. And then when they start to get jacked up, they start yelling and screaming, "Oh God, oh God, oh God!" All right. So I get a scripture from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 25. It reads, all right, it says, "The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against him, and flee 7 ways before him, and thou shalt be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth." And that's a serious curse. It's hard for our people to come against the system. Esau's military structure, his structure of, slave patrol. Our people can't defeat them. You just have to let the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai, get you out of the situation. That's what it's about. So it's just terrible, man. Just terrible. Wherever our people go, they always have hope that they'll have a brighter future, but they end up, engaging in folly, and then the folly turns into fatalities.
Investigator Scott Taylor is digging into D.C.'s chase policy, while D.C. Bureau Chief Sam Ford analyzes that video and what we know about the officers involved.
Mayor Bowser said she was releasing this body-worn camera video in part to quell rumors about the death of 20-year-old Karan Hilton.
The footage shows that the MPD car does not collide with Karan.
Hilton wasn't wearing a helmet. Neighborhood surveillance video shows police with lights and siren pursuing Hilton on the electric moped. He makes a U-turn, heads back on the sidewalk in the car with 4 officers inside, turns around, still chasing. Seconds later, police body cam video shows Hilton in an alley, then a collision with a passing car on Kennedy Street. An officer clearly knows Hilton.
Karan!
Police say at this point all 4 officers are on leave. The U.S. attorney is handling the case. MPD has not talked with them yet about.
Yep, and that's what happens, man. I've seen a cyclist, collide with a vehicle when we at camp at Chinatown, and it doesn't look pretty. It doesn't look pretty. Yeah, that's the reason why you gotta pray about that by Shema Shai. Protects you and your household. That the children you have do not engage in folly that ends up costing them their lives, because we all love our family members, but at some point in time, man, you worry, and then you just have to encourage them to stick with what the Lord Abba Shema Shah has set before them, which is these words. All right. So I'm going to read from the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 11. All right, because when you're doing videos like this, you have a heavy heart, man, just filled with sadness and all that stuff. You could barely get your words in order, but hey, for truth's sake, you gotta accept the bitterness and bring out the scriptures. So Ecclesiastes chapter 11 verse 9, it says, "Rejoice, O young man, in thy youth, and let thy heart cheer thee in the ways of thy youth, and walk in the ways of thine heart, and in the sight of thine eyes. But know thou that for all these things the Most High will bring thee into judgment." All right, and that's what's going on with our people, man. And that's a good example right there of Jake, disregarding, the consequences of his choices. All right. And that's one thing, when you serve the Lord Abba Shema Shai, you're able to understand, why Jake is doing certain things, and you understand how he got judged, and then you look at the other parties, the bystanders, the news anchors, the reporters, and they look at the cops, they look at the mayor, the police chiefs, and then you understand how everything is tied together. That's the beauty of studying the words of Lord Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. All right. Then verse 10 says, "Therefore remove sorrow from thine heart, and put away evil from thy flesh. For childhood and youth are vanity. Yeah, and that's when, our people make the most mistakes when they're young. The 20-year-old man with a child, but he didn't really take it seriously. That's the cost, you have to pay. And then if you read the book of Hosea chapter 8, verse 3, all right, it says, Israel had cast off the thing that is good. The enemy shall pursue him. And that's what's going on with our people, man. They despise the word of the Lord, and they end up getting jacked up. When you read Proverbs chapter 13, verse 13, it says, whoso despiseth the word, shall be, I already don't want to paraphrase it. It says, whoso despiseth the word shall be destroyed, but he that feareth the commandment shall be rewarded. All right, and that's exactly what you have to keep in mind. Jake being a knucklehead will cause a lot of disaster. That's what happens, man. One choice, the family is wrecked. The family is wrecked. Yeah, and that's the pain. That's the pain of being in Babylon, man. That's the pain of captivity. That's the pain of getting jacked up by the Lord. All right. And when the Lord, wants our people, to let go of all these, vain thoughts and desires, they don't understand the reason why, because this also lets you know that, it's just sad, man. When you read, when you hear what Lord Yahushua says that, it says that we are the salt of the earth, and if the salt loses its savor, wherewith shall it be salted? That it's no longer good, but to be thrown out and to be trampled down, by the feet of men. And that's exactly what's going on here, So it's necessary our people, wake up, man, because it's not a joke. It's not a joke, losing the family members and just wasting, wasting the efforts, that of, people's time and efforts, man. All that just went down the drain. So, book of Sirach, chapter 30, verse 3, it says, let's start from verse 1. Sirach chapter 30, verse 1. He that loveth his son causeth him oft to feel the rod, that he may have joy of him in the end. All right, that's the reason why, disciplining children is very, very important, especially the son. All right, because the son carries the seed, it carries the name of the family. All right, he becomes the progenitor. All right, it says, he that chastiseth his son shall have joy in him, and shall rejoice of him among his acquaintance. Because when when a man sees that his son is on the right path, and he's holding on to the words of the Lord, brothers in the camp, will be proud of that brother, that he has his house in order. All right, that he has a son that's going to be willing to do the work and to carry on, the responsibilities. All right, and that's one thing, brothers always pray for, man. All right, and verse 3 says, he that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy, and before his friends he shall rejoice of him. Yeah, so, you see the terrible results, man. The parents are not rejoicing, so, I mean, what else can be said? It's just that the Lord does not tolerate folly, as he used to. So all those days are coming to an end, all right? Then the final precept is going to be from the book of Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 3. I'm going to read from verse 1. It says, my son, forget not my law, but let thine heart keep my commandments, for length of days and long life and peace shall they add to thee. Yep, so 20 years old, still a young man, man. But he got messed up. And that's what happens, man, when you despise the word of the Lord. You don't take heed unto it, and then you get jacked up, and then you end up getting destroyed. That's something, you don't want to experience, all right? Verse 3 says, let not mercy and truth forsake thee. All right, that's exactly what the men of the Lord are out there to bring to our people. All right, the way to mercy and the way of truth. All right, let not mercy and truth forsake thee. Bind them about thy neck, write them upon the table of thine heart. And that's what we need to hold on to in these last days, man. Just like we ask the Lord for mercy and forgiveness, and to reveal the truth of His holy scriptures unto us, that we may be able to grow in the Spirit and to teach others. All right, and those that despise this, you see the end. You see their end. You see how they get judged by the Lord. Verse 4: so shalt thou find favor and good understanding in the sight of the Most High and men. And that's what it boils down to. When you hold on to the Lord, you hold on to the teachings of Hamashiach Yahushua, you're going to be in safe hands, all right? You won't be worried about the enemy. You won't be, freezing up when you see the cops, because you're already prepared. When you leave the house, make sure you got yourself in order. That you've got your bolts and your screws tightened up and all that stuff. Because the scripture is basically what you use to examine yourself. You know exactly what you're lacking and what you need to improve on, so you don't become a victim, of your own procrastination, or a victim of your own ignorance, or a victim of your own poor decisions. So that's just the point that I can, pray you've been edified. I pray that Lord Yabashima shall continue to guide you and keep you away from that spirit of folly, because that folly is just too much in our nation. Shalom.